Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Auto Repair Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Walker, and my co host, as usual, is Kim. And today we have a very special guest that we are excited to have with us. I'm going to let Kim introduce him in just a minute, but first, I would like to thank our friends at Repair Pal for providing this episode. Repair Pal's certified network of shops are trusted by millions of customers each month. Learn more at repairpal.com/shops. Well, Kim, why don't you introduce our guest today?
Yeah, my turn. All right, y'all. Listen, you've heard us talk about this guy before, and he's just been living his life. Had no idea that we talk about him all the time. If you've taken classes from us, if you're like some of our listeners, you've listened to every podcast, you've probably heard us talk about him. This is Michael Doherty, who was our service advisor way back in the day at Peak Automotive in Apex, North Carolina. Michael, we teach classes, which I don't even know that you even knew this, but we just saw him for the first time in 15 years, maybe, at STX at the World Pack Conference over in Nashville, and kind of walked up right next to each other. And I probably overwhelmed him a little bit. Y'all know I get excited, and I think I may have jumped a little bit and maybe clapped, but I was super excited to see him. But yeah, you've heard us talk about him. Our service advisor did this and our service advisor did this. And so here he is in real life. We're doing this customer loyalty, customer retention series. And Brian said, how can we possibly talk about this without interviewing Michael? So we're really, really happy to have you here.
I truly appreciate it. Super humbled. It was great. It was more than great to bump into you guys at the expo that first day. And just, I was walking over one of the bridges to get to the main lobby, and I saw Brian talking to someone in a little cafe, and me just being me, I didn't want to run up and interrupt him. And I was like, I got to say hi. And I didn't see you, Kim, but I saw Brian. And on the way back through that same, I will call it morning, I saw both you guys standing there, and I waited to talk to you, but I was just so happy to see you guys. And yeah, it's been a minute, but I hear you guys are doing great things in the industry, and so happy for you.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so
it was
much.
really awesome to catch up with you, and I mean, it has been such a long time, and we do talk about you so much because you were so impactful to our business, and still to this day the best service advisor that I've ever known. So we're really
Thank you.
really excited to get to share some of your knowledge with our listeners today.
Super happy to help where I can, and yeah, what can I do for you?
So let's start off with just some of the basics. Tell us a little bit about like how you got started as a service advisor, and I mean, it's quite a few years later. What has kept you passionate in that role?
Truth be told, I was working at the Audi Porsche dealer at the time, and I was doing detailing and car drop-offs and deliveries, and I'd always found myself up at the front counter waiting for a service writer to get done with a client and hand me a key to the next car or tell me what I could help with, and just kind of listening to their interactions, it made me interested. I've always loved people watching, but just working with people, talking with people, and then cars. So that passion kind of collided for me. But that particular day, what launched it for me, I went up to the service writer desk. Her name was Connie, very nice lady, and she just starts going over the board. And by that, everything was handwritten at that time. We're talking like 99, 2000, and everything's lined up. And I walk in there, and she says, this is what's going on with this, and this is what's going on with this, and this is going on with this. And I said, why are you telling me all this? And she goes, I'm out of here. I'm done. You can have it. And literally, I was thrown into the deep end. There was no lifeguard on duty that day, and it was sink or swim. And the service manager walked over maybe 5 minutes later, and he goes, what's going on? I said, Connie left, and she told me about all this stuff. And he goes, well, what do you think? And I said, sure, let's do it. And I just took to it and went from there. kind of solo for about 30, 60 days. And then they had a service writer that was at a Mercedes dealership that had a transfer over to Audi, and he was kind of a mentor to me in that sense that he really kind of showed me, I would say, the right way to do it. And he spent 30 days on the phones with me. Like, he wouldn't let me make an appointment until I got the phones right. And then we moved to appointment scheduling and guiding people through what's recommended. And I mean, he really molded me for a year. And Leith, the company that I worked for at that time, didn't really have a service writer program. So I'm very grateful and thankful that that individual, if you're listening, Bob Johnson, got a chance to really just show me the right way to do it. And everybody kind of has their own way of doing it, but there are core principles that you have to have, and it is a service industry. So just taking care of people and guiding them and helping them to make the right decisions about what they need is super important. Transparency, communication, follow through. But that's really how I got started. I literally was asked, "Do you want to do this or not?" And boom, in the pool. So never
So
looked back.
I've never heard that story. Even when we worked together, I had no idea that that's how you became a service advisor. And then I totally forgot that Bob Johnson was your mentor, because Bob was my service advisor when I worked at the Mercedes dealer in
Yeah,
Raleigh.
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's he doing now?
He is retired. He retired, I want to say about 2 or 3 years ago. We get together maybe every quarter to meet for breakfast. We go to Panera. He's got a grandson he talks about. He's got a wife, his daughter, his son. They're all doing great. But I just saw him actually over Father's Day weekend. He asked me if I want to get together. So we still keep in touch. And every time I see him, I try to buy his breakfast as a thank you, and he doesn't let me. But it's just good to just keep in touch with people that you care about.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Bob was definitely one of the greats that we worked with. And I, yeah, I'm grateful for him for mentoring you, the way that he has. And I love that you're still um, in touch with him and in communicating with him on a regular basis. That's awesome that y'all are doing that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, did you ever work in any other customer service based roles?
Um, Growing up, I worked in the restaurant industry. So probably one of my first jobs, actually not one of my first jobs, but when I had a driver's license, I worked as a waiter at one of the restaurants in town, busboy, things like that. So just always kind of just around people. Um, Not really a social butterfly in school or high school by any means, but
Mhm.
again, just being around people, doing sports, being around people and all that. But I think I was just meant to do stuff with people, and I love it.
Not surprised that you said you were in the restaurant industry for a while, because it's incredibly often that we hear shops who snatch up a really great server out of a restaurant and put them in the role of service advisor, because you learn so much about serving people in that restaurant role. And so it's often in some of these Facebook groups, I'll see people talking about, I need a service advisor, and somebody will come in and say, go look for the best server in the restaurant.
Yeah, I mean,
Go get
to
them.
this day, I mean, if I'm out, having a meal with the family or something, and we got a server, I mean, I'm being polite right back. I mean, we kind of stumbled a little bit over the past couple of years, I think, as humans, to be honest, and
Mhm.
lost the customer service touch. So, I mean, it's amazing if you're at a restaurant and someone's taking your order and you see please and thank you and may I, and I mean, you get a little bit more food on your plate. Your drink is always full. Just being a human and recognizing, because I used to be that server. I still am in a different facet, but just being a human and recognizing that and treating people like people. So
You mean caring about people,
yes, ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What a concept.
So, the entire idea. As we talked about, this has been a series. This will be the fourth episode in the series about customer retention. So we're talking about the things that you would do as a service advisor that are going to make that customer want to continue coming back again and again and again. And in in multiple episodes of this podcast, we've talked about it. In our classes, we've talked about it. A lot of the things that you've done. And I always make sure to give credit to you that these were not my ideas. You came in and you really taught us about building those relationships. And it always happened. I mean, from the moment that somebody was walking up to the door, they weren't even in the door yet. Can you talk a little bit about how, like, the things that you've done or that you do to build that relationship with your clients and make them feel special?
There's a lot of different things, but personally, I think it starts with the phone call when they call in to make an appointment. I'm sure you guys heard the term like smiling through the phone.
Mm-hmm.
When that phone rings, unless it's a telemarketer, it's somebody that needs help with something. And finding out the sense of urgency. Did they break down? That's never a good thing. But just listening to them and kind of starting that, well, not kind of starting that relationship over the phone before they even walk in the door. And then when they get there, just basically wowing them. At Peak, we used to hold the door for the person, when they walked in. Open the door for them, greet them. Um, when their car was done, we would bring it up to the front door for them, just delivering that, a rock star experience, something that's memorable that they're not going to forget about. But I would say for me, it's finding out who you're talking to, and what I mean by that is everybody's different. Like identifying personalities. Um, Finding things in common with people. I had a client in actually 2 days ago, first time client, and he dropped off a Mazda. And I knew that I anticipated his arrival. So when he walked in, I said, "Hey, Mr. So and so," and he kind of looked at me and kind of like, "How do you know it's me?" I saw the Mazda pulling in the parking lot, and I had one on the schedule that day. But um, he was happy to go golfing that day, so I said, "Have a great game." When he came back, how was the golf? Just really talking about him and not the vehicle at that point. Just trying to get him to get some common ground. So remember him, things like that. But there's so many things. We used to get people's birth dates. How did you like your coffee? At Peak, things like that. The massage chair. All those things that were just orchestrated to give someone just that rock star experience, and then they tell other people. And that's the biggest thing too, is after somebody's come in and done business with you, thanking them for their business, asking them to come back, asking them to refer people, let them know that they may get a survey, and if they could fill that out for you, in hopes that they'll come back. But you really have that first time to capture their attention and make them feel special, and continue to do that. Another part of that is building trust. And what I mean by that is when you've got a first time client or it's a 10th time client, if I say, "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I'm going to update you guys at 2 o'clock," update them at 2 o'clock. And the more consistent you are in doing that, it builds the trust. Wow, he says he's going to do what he's going to do. And things like that make a difference, I think, to people, because it shows that you're being transparent and you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And once people have an experience like that, I don't think they want to go away from it. They want to continue to have good experiences and come back and participate in your services that you offer.
You're really taking me down memory lane here, even though we have literally said almost verbatim all the things that you've just said in classes, in other podcasts and things like that. So it's just, I don't know, reassuring to hear you saying and remembering those powerful things that we did to make people feel special in an automotive repair shop. And I think it's important for people to hear that. We've also shared about how you would, all those things where you're observing the people, but you made notes about them in our software at the time. And so you'd meet them with their coffee made. This is how I know I know this is how you like your coffee. Or you used to set their massage chair in the settings that they liked. And
I do
you know
remember that vaguely. Yeah. Remembering the settings. And some people would just want to wait and hang out in the massage chair and just kind of relax while their car is getting worked on and
that's
whatnot.
right.
But I mean, I think the core the core thing was just showing that you care, and that they're seeing that and it's genuine, and that they've got a nice place to come to, whether they're dropping the car off or they're hanging out, but chatting it up with them, um, just getting to know them,
Yeah.
and then remembering them when they come back. So
There was a precedent that you kind of set um, in the business, and I never asked you to do it, um, and that came down to the way that you dressed. I remember the the first time that you came in wearing like a button down shirt with a tie, um, and I'm like, whoa. Michael's like stepping it up a notch because we never did that. It was like polo shirts, maybe a Peak Automotive T-shirt. But when you did that, every other because we always had two advisors,
yes,
so
sir.
the other advisors they followed suit. It
Literally.
was like you were setting the bar, speed of the leader, speed of the team, and you were absolutely the leader in that service advisor role. Um, talk to us a little bit about that. What was it that brought that on to make you do that?
It wasn't a requirement, but one thing that I've heard is dress for the job that you want. And at that time, I was doing service, and I didn't know that I wanted a different role, but basically just step it up. Like step it up, take pride in your appearance. And I change it up once in a while. Where I work now, I really don't do a shirt and tie because I'm not at the front counter.
Mhm.
But I'll rotate through different clothing depending on the year, things like that. But I think it was more just a sense of pride, if you would. Just like you feel better when you dress better. I don't know how to put that. And
Yeah.
when you have that pep in your step or you're upbeat, that vibe just kind of transfers over. And it can set the tone for other people to dress like that or mimic or whatever. But I think for me, it was just kind of like I really liked where I was, and I had to match the decor because you guys had it looking so banging up there, with everything. I mean, I'm competing with Haagen Dazs and a massage chair. I can't wear a tuxedo T-shirt here, so
Oh, that's funny.
I need to step up my game. So um, I think that's probably why I did it, to be honest.
Well, and that's something that our clients used to when they were talking to us. They would remark about about how y'all were dressed at the front counter. It made an impression on them, and at that time, this was before it was the cool thing to be the female friendly shop. But Kim had overheard a client saying it, and she had branded us as the Triangle's most female friendly shop.
Yes, she did,
And
and we were.
when ladies would come into the uh, the front office, they felt comfortable. They knew that they were going to be respected. It was a totally different auto repair experience, and it went so far beyond the way that y'all were dressed. But uh, for the people who are listening, what Michael was just saying, especially if you're a service advisor, and you're that service advisor who wants to be on top of your game. He's telling you that the way that you dress impacts the way that you feel about yourself, and the and what you bring to the job, and it's going to impact the way that people see you and think of you, think about you and the shop and everything. So don't overlook that. It's a simple thing that can make a big impact.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And one thing I feel like you did such a great job at was the finesse of being present with people. Even though you're answering the phone, you might be emailing someone because we did have email at the time. That was our big sorts of communication, not texting and all this, but
Yep, yep.
emailing on the phone, people in front of you. I just remember like no matter what was happening, you were present with the people that were right in front of you. And I think that goes along with everything else here that we're talking about with people feeling special is, you know, the person right in front of you is they're standing there right in front of you. They take priority over anything else happening. And there was just this finesse that you had. That's the only word I can really think of to describe that experience. And I remember watching it from, an observation standpoint where I'm like, God, look how he's handling that. And I just thought it was different, very unique.
I appreciate that. It buffered out there for a couple of seconds, so I wasn't sure what was said in the last segment. But there's actually a quote by Zig Ziglar, and it says, "Give whatever you are doing and whoever you are with the gift of your attention." And that for me is a very powerful quote, especially in this industry. We're pulled in so many different directions every day. You're right. If you're at the front counter, if you're on the phone, you got to multitask. But at that moment, the person that's in front of you, you need to just make feel special because they are. And you know that you're going to have 16 other things to do right after that, but just eye contact, confidence in what you're talking about, transparency, but just your undivided attention. And that's really important.
So we've been talking about the customer service aspect, and of course this continues on that, but from a different point. You were always like, you were great at selling, and that's something that the shop owners, when they think about their service advisor, they want to make sure that their service advisors are great at selling. But people tend to feel like when they go into an auto repair shop that they're getting this high pressure sales, that they're getting hit with, I came in for an oil change and here's this huge list of all of these things that I need done. But you were always, and I'm sure still to this day, are great at being able to present an estimate to somebody, show them the things that have been found on the car, but doing that in a way where there's no pressure. I'd love to just hear what your take is on that, what your advice is to people on that, how you do that.
I'm sure we've all been somewhere at a retail something and you feel that pressure and you don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
You could be at a store and somebody kind of runs up to you and, hey, how much you pay for your cell phone, and do you want to have a better deal? Or, and it's kind of like, wow, where'd you come from? But one of the things I think that makes a big difference is identify their primary concern first and then let them know positives about their car before you start talking about things that you would see as needing attention or bringing to their attention. And what I mean by that is if somebody comes in for, say, a coolant leak, identify that primary concern, go over it with them and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, there's a couple things that I'd like to talk to you about. First and foremost, here's some great news about your car, because you just told them some not so great news, and it might cost a little bit more money than they thought it would. Your tires are great. They're at 830 seconds of tread. Your front brakes have 10 millimeters of life. Your brake fluid's great. We don't see any leaks from your transmission. However, here are some things that we took note of that maybe you already know about, maybe you don't. I've put together an estimate, which I can talk to you about over the phone. I can text you, you can view, we can email and go over it together. What questions can I answer for you? And then just kind of seeing where they're at with it. And for some people, depending on how many items, it's a lot to take in. But you want to categorize it. And I don't tell people, I advise people, categorize it like it was your mom's car or your sister's car. Think about it that way. If my mom was driving this car, what would I want to tell my mom about it? What's the most sense of urgency of needed items? Is it the brakes? Is it the tires? Is it this leak that's getting out of the engine belt, etc.? And kind of prioritize it from there. And if it's too much for the individual take on at one time, break it off in chunks. I'd recommend, jobs 1, 2, and 3 at this time. Would you like to make an appointment to come back to do the rest or whatever? But, as far as selling, I'll be totally honest with you. I don't think I've ever sold anything to somebody. It's been just being transparent and looking out for them and let them make the decisions. And if I feel that maybe they're not making the wrong decision, but hey, if you're willing to put the money into this, I really think you should maybe put the money into doing that because this is going to benefit you now. People buy features and benefits. How is this what difference is going to make for me now? But it's not selling how I look at it. It's getting it across the importance and why. And then kind of once they feel that you're not selling them, and that's how it should be, it breaks that barrier because they've been somewhere else that's the pushy sales person or, you get the phone call, hey, you need brakes. It's $1,500. Do you want to do it or not? Who wants to
Yeah.
buy that? No,
Yeah.
nobody. Approach that in a manner of, hey, while we're checking out your car, we noticed that your brakes are worn down to 3 millimeters of life left, and your rotors are warped. And here's why we'd recommend this. Let them know why behind it. One of the things I think that's helped me a lot over the years is just product knowledge on vehicles and knowing about them in a sense where I can talk to somebody on a higher level of what's needed, or I can talk to somebody not on a lower level, but make them understand it, compare it to something, or um, try to explain it so they'll understand it. And if you can do that, because they may not understand what you're talking about. I mean, we get people that come in all the time. I don't know what a bushing is. I don't know what this does. If you can explain it to them and why the importance, you're more likely to. Again, you're taking the time with them. They see that, and you're building value, but you're also letting them know that you care about them. And I really feel like once they see that you care about them, it's a much easier progression of them wanting to do work and purchasing work from you.
Yeah.
I love that. That's I hear a lot of people talking about sales techniques and all that, but I think that's the first time where I've heard the idea of talk to them about what is good with their car.
Absolutely. Because if you talk to them and say, hey, here's your primary concern, and here's 6 or 8 things also that we'd recommend, but you don't hit them with any positives, they're kind of thinking, man, my car's in really bad shape.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know some good news, and there's the off swing. You get somebody that comes in and they're in for an oil service. I think oil changes are dead these days. It's an oil service. We're going to do your oil and filter service, and we're going to check out your vehicle and make sure that it's safe for you. And if there's something that our technician identifies that's not, we're going to give you an estimate, let you know why it's recommended, and you're under no obligation. You can approve or decline, but please read this information over. Either you text it to him, you email it to him, call me with any questions that you might have, and let's talk about it together. Because they're ultimately making the decision. It's their money. And I've seen people that have just come in for an oil service and it needs nothing else. And I'm not going, darn, there's just an oil change. We're not going to get anything out of this. No, you're going to get a customer that wasn't upsold on something that they didn't need. You're going to get a customer that's appreciative that you didn't try and upsell them on something they didn't need. And they're going to come back continually. And over time, that oil change will also need other things: filters, fluids, brakes, tires, whatever. I'd rather have the client for the long term of their car than in one time and cool, we made it, we made $1,000, but they're not coming back. It doesn't make any sense, especially with retention. And you want to put that vibe out there.
So,
I
what
love
is the?
the
Go ahead.
I love the explaining part that you just talked about, because that's, Brian took that piece away where you're sharing something positive, which is awesome and very rare, but the explaining part, especially from a female perspective, I think so often service advisors think, oh, she doesn't know what this is. I'm not even going to go down that path with her. Let me just tell her what needs to be replaced and we'll move on. But when you explain it and you start, like Simon Sinek says, start with why, you explain the why behind that, then I'm thinking about my kid in the car. I'm thinking about the trip we're taking. I'm thinking about all the safety reasons why it makes sense to take care of that today. So I love the explaining part. I think it's super smart and respectful.
I appreciate that. And one of the things that's actually I think is really cool too is when they're picking up, go out there with their car, because depending on what service they get, they're not going to be able to see some of the things that you've done. Um, we're getting in a better habit of washing cars where I'm at. We used to do it all the time at Peak because people would love that. They'd see that, you come out, whether you paid $10 for a light bulb or $1,000
Mm-hmm.
for a service, their car was clean and they could see that, and that makes you feel good. But when you walk out there, if you have time, pop the hood and, hey, check this out. And is there any questions I could, some people just go, well, what's that? Or what's that? Or how do I put washer fluid on my car? Show them, that's
Mm-hmm.
empowering them, and they like that because I guarantee you nobody's ever done that for them before. Number two, uh, if you've got a first time client, and we get sometimes people that come in and bring vehicles in for a pre-purchase inspection. They end up buying the vehicle. We do the service and maintenance on it, and the first time we do the service, say it's at 40,000 miles and it's a Lexus or a Toyota, we open up the manual for service maintenance and it's never been filled out before. Not by the dealer, not by anybody. I don't have access to the records prior, but I make it a point to fill out the service maintenance record and leave it open face on their seat. So when they come in to pick up their vehicle, they see that you've done that. And again, it's just another step of I'm going above, not really above, but I'm showing them that I care enough. I went to the owner's manual, which most of them never been open before. You might find a wheel lock key, something like that, but just again, it's this is the kind of service we provide. It's got your little business stamp on it, the mileage, the date, what service was done. Yeah, they're going to get a copy via email or paper of what you did for service that day, but leaving it open face on the passenger seat for them to see that you did that goes a long way, because no one's ever done that for them before, because you can tell it's never been filled out.
Hey, I want to backtrack for a second. So we were talking. You were talking about the car that comes in for the oil service, and you find nothing wrong with it. What does the conversation look like with the client when that happens?
It's a great conversation. It's hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we performed. Now, depending on the person coming in the morning and identify this, do you want to be reached via text? Do you want me to call you via email, or how would you prefer communication method? But either way, I'm saying the same things, whether I talk to them in person or email them or text them. But basically, say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, great news, your oil service is done. We did the multi-point inspection. Your car's in fantastic shape. Keep it going. We'll see you next oil change. We'll be here today until 5 o'clock. Thank you for your business. And it's just a very smooth transition. And usually they'll call and say, hey, so I don't need anything else. No, it's great. And it's kind of a shock to them. Well, every time I go here, they say I need all these different things. And I'm like, yeah, no, not at this service, is it? And it's almost like they leave super thankful.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of places take advantage of the people.
Well, I wanted to go back to that because what I have found from my experience is that most of the time, if that's the case, and I don't even know if that's the case or if the shop just didn't even do the multi-point inspection on it, but you bring it in for the oil change, and then when the person comes to pick it up, they just kind of hand them the keys and check them out. They don't go through we we did the multi-point inspection and everything looks great, because when you do that, you're building trust with that person. So the next time when they come in and they need those front pads, or there's a leak, starting to appear from the transmission, if they know that last time you were straight up with them and it was like, hey, everything looked great, then they're going to be much more trusting based on that.
Absolutely. And when we do a multi-point inspection for somebody where they're coming in for a service or maintenance or whatever it may be, we call it a courtesy check. It costs them $0. We do get their permission to do it. So I send somebody a pre-authorization for their service that I know that they're coming in for, and the courtesy check. And when I send them the link via text, they see all the items that we're going to check out as a courtesy. Are we pulling out spark plugs? No. Things that are mileage based, we'll put, due at so many miles per manufacturer recommendations, but we're checking tire life, we're checking brake pad life in millimeters, because you can't really give somebody a percentage. So we go by millimeters for that. Do we have any visual exterior coolant leaks, transmission leaks? And on the report that we receive back from our technicians, there's 3 indicators. Green is good, yellow is caution, hey, this is coming up, and red is we'd recommend you do this now, and here's why. So when they get that report back, if it's all greens, that's great. If it's green and yellow, somebody might want to do service or maintenance, and we sometimes get people that, they're halfway in between a service. So by the next time they're due for a service, they're going to be overdue for something. So sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. But they can actually, in what they're seeing is what we're actually letting them know, like in real time. So again, it's a great tool, and they can make their decisions. But telling somebody, yeah, you don't need anything but the service today, and they're like, that's awesome, thank you. So
What tool do y'all use for that?
we use Shopware.
Okay.
We
Awesome.
use Shopware. We've been using it for about 4 years now,
Hmm.
and it's worked out pretty well for us. We used to have WinWorks, but it's worked out pretty well, and the people like it, so we do what the people want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Well,
go ahead.
yeah. So we just saw you at STX, right?
Y-
Earlier,
yes, ma'am.
gosh, May,
Yeah,
April?
yeah.
Yeah, it was April.
Fantastic show.
And I'm wondering how often are you going to training? How are you staying updated? Because a lot of this stuff is just natural from you just caring about people and serving people, but there's always stuff that you can learn and networking with other shops and other service advisors and all that. Talk to us a little bit about the training aspect. How often do you get to go to training? How important do you think that is? What would you say to those that are listening?
I've been doing service writing cumulative for about 22 years. Um, and I did classes with the company that I started with at the dealer. I think it was called by Traver Technologies. I don't know if they're around anymore or not. We did some classes with Peak, um, but I've only been to two STXs in the independent world.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that when I go to one of those, I come back with so much information. I'm good for a while. I can read back through those booklets that I'm given by the teachers. You meet people there that you can contact and talk about stuff. So prior to this most recent WorldPack Expo, the last one I went to was probably 5 years ago, which was in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Or the one I went to was 5 years ago. 5 years ago in Texas at another Gaylord hotel chain. Um, but I haven't done any other outside training. Um, and I think it's because I've been doing it for so long. For service writers that are just getting into the industry, I think it's very important to find a mentor, even if it's somebody at another shop. And it's not really conflicting business. It's just surround yourself with people who know what they're talking about and have been doing it. And the reason I say that is because somebody that's doing service advisor, and then someone's doing the car sales, it's two totally different things. It's
Mm-hmm.
sales, but you don't want to be taught sales. You want to be taught how to take care of people, identify their needs, and help them, and that'll get you going. But I'm sure there's other classes out there. I don't know what they are. WorldPack offers classes all the time, locally and then out of state. But for me, the expo is enough to get me through for a couple more years. I've got a
Yeah.
stack of material that I can go back to and read and look at and talk to you guys too. So thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple of people in the industry that they do not like the term sales at all, and they instead like to say customer advocacy. And I think that that is a beautiful way to say what we really should be doing in this industry. Um, is customer advocacy rather
I
than
like that.
sales.
I like that. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so I mean you I think that this is something that just comes naturally to you, but we there's a book that we read a long time ago called Raving Fans, and that has become a term that we use a lot, and I feel like you are very good at turning clients into raving fans, and we may have already covered everything, but from a standpoint of creating those raving fans, what do you think some of the key elements are that you put in place to do that?
Again, I think it starts with a phone call, to be honest. Um, Good communication, transparency, um, do what you say you're going to do. But when they're in your presence, kick it up a notch, take an interest. I mean, they're there to pick up their car and pay an invoice. There's got to be more to it than that. It can't be just black and white, if you would. Like how was your day, or I know you're wearing a sports shirt or whatever, a team, even if it's not a team that you like.
Hmm.
It could be football, it could be baseball, whatever. Finding common interests, just talking to them, just kind of getting to know them, and they see that because there's so much just people don't care these days. They don't. And when you find people that care, you're going to remember that. It's really important. And like I was saying, if I'm in a restaurant, if I'm out at the movies or whatever, I mean, the customer service person's behind the counter or whatever. I mean, very quickly, but I think it was a year ago, there was a Dunkin' Donuts that opened up in Holly Springs, and they were open too long, maybe 2 weeks. And I was standing in line. The gentleman in front of me ordered, I think, a 25 count of Munchkins. Said that he didn't want a particular one in there. The lady started packing the box. He's watching her do it, and she gets done, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm not going to take it." He goes, "Because you put the, I don't know, we'll say chocolate ones in there, and I didn't want the chocolate ones." And she kind of looked defeated, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." She made him another box, and I'm standing there thinking he's watching her do this. The first one you could have said, "Hey, please stop your, I didn't want the chocolate ones," right? But no, he watched her do the whole thing and then refused to pay, got another one and walked out, and she's standing there defeated. And first thing I said was, "Sorry for how that guy treated you." I said, "That's not right." I said, "Number two," I said, "I'd like to buy that box of Munchkins from you on top of the regular order that I'm doing." I know she was going to be penalized for it financially. I don't know once it goes in a box what happens to if they got to throw it out, but it's a loss of product for them, right? And just in that moment, her look at me was kind of like, "Wow, why would you care about this? They're donuts." It wasn't the donuts I was cared about; it was her. And when you're in customer service, seeing other customer service people treated like that, it's not a good thing. So did I affect her that day? I don't know, but I wanted her to leave with the vibe that don't let that guy ruin your day. We'll figure it out. We'll move on. And she didn't charge me for the box of Munchkins, so I appreciated that. But just again, just identifying, caring, um, do something different for people. I mean, we get people that come in for a service or maintenance, and say they're in for we got to do intake gaskets. While the intake's off, on some of the cars nowadays, the starter's down there, right? Um, hey, the car's got 80,000 miles on it. The starter is going to go bad at no additional labor charge. Would you be interested in replacing the starter? Pairing things together as overlap to help save them, to prevent a future failure or a breakdown or whatever. And when people see, now the starter is maybe not a good example because it's expensive, but just doing little things, rotation, something that doesn't cost you a lot of money, a giveaway. It could be topping off a fluid, that they didn't, want you to do, or just recharging the AC. Especially this time of year, I get in cars in the morning and the AC's on, and I hear that kind of hiss noise coming from the dash, and I'm like, I definitely know the Freon's low. That's a dead indicator, asking if they want to do it. If they don't want to do it, sometimes we'll just do it and tell them that you did it, and that goes a long way. You're looking out for them. I mean, I don't know if one person's riding in that car, if there's kids riding in that car, if there's animals riding in that car, but that car with no AC this time of year is not a good thing. So really, what's your true cost of doing that service to retain a client and make them remember you? Just do little things um, to help. It goes a long way. I've been often asked, not so much when I worked at Peak, but the place that I'm at now. In the beginning, they would say, it's a Tuesday. Hey, do you know how much you think we're going to do this week? And it's not a bad question to ask. I mean, I understand they got bills to pay, things like that. It's a logical question from a business standpoint. And my answer would always be, I'm not worried about it. I can't give you a number, but as long as we take care of the client, the number will be there. And it always has been. When you start thinking about that bottom line instead of the client, that's when you're sliding down that slope. And just taking care of the client every time, consistently, the number you need is going to be there.
There's people in this world who get it. There's people in this world who don't get it, and you are one of the people who absolutely gets it. Um, you've brought a lot of value to our listeners today. I'm really excited about this episode. I do have one more question. Kim might. I'm not sure if she does. Then
I just have a statement. Go with your question.
So the last thing that I would ask you would be, what can the shop owners do to set their service advisors up to be able to create those exceptional customer service experiences?
I really feel like a service writer is a quarterback position on the team, and I do say team. It's
Mhm.
not one person. It's a team pass or a team fail. Praise, positive praise, right? I mean, we all have things that happen. If you miss a part by chance, building an estimate or a technician breaks a part in the back, I mean, the first time you go there and chastise somebody, they're going to remember that and they're not going to tell you the next time. Building a really strong team. So for shop owners, I would say just, positive praise. I mean, Brian, Kim, you guys used to, come back from a weekend. We have pancake breakfast or, stuff like that. I mean, all those things really made a big difference to us because it showed us that you cared and you didn't have to, but you wanted to. We did shop ice cream or a shop outing. Um, you know, uh, Brian, I remember when we took the shop and you took us and we went to see Ricky Bobby, Tail Dick and Nights. you know, so Red said, "Come on, man, I'm taking you guys to a movie." But honestly, trying getting off topic here for shop owners, um, don't be an owner, be a leader. And what I mean by that is, empower your people. Empower your people. Let them know that you back them, that you care about them. Get in the trenches with them. I think there's bosses and there's leaders. And my vision of that is, the boss is, paint the picture, if you would, in a sled, and he's got a bunch of people that are pulling the sled, and he's telling us, telling you, it's only 4 more miles. We can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You need to be in the front. You need to be in the front showing that it can be done. You need to pull the sled, be a leader, and when your people see that, yes, you're the owner, but you're invested, you're involved, you care, it makes the team. It does. And once you've got that culture and you've got a good quarterback, it's so easy to a service writer can make or break the day for the team.
Mhm.
I've been there before. I'll be honest. There's days that I don't have good days, but the days that I know I'm not having a good day, I don't take it out on somebody. I really don't leave the office and I don't go back there and take it out on somebody. I kind of just hunker down and do my work. A customer will never know that I'm having a bad day, but we all go through things, right? Um, but going back there to your team, I've been working with some of the same guys for 15, 20 years now,
Mhm.
and the trust is there. And but we're all doing the daily grind so much, but yet we're a family. You're with somebody 8, 10 hours a day. That is your brother. That is your sister. That is your so-called father or mother. I mean, it's a family. And for shop owners, again, just be a leader. Be a leader for your team, or designate a leader if you don't want to do it. And I think a service writer is a great way to go because it's building confidence. You know, you have to have confidence in that role. And when your technicians are getting tickets and you're selling work, or they're seeing their hours go up, they're happy. Everybody's happy. Things like that. But just be a leader, not a boss. Times have changed. People want leaders. Show me how to do it. Show me you're invested. Show me you're going to be here and help us out. Don't just tell us how to do it and throw a crazy number up there and say, I need you guys to do X this month. And there's no game plan. But just be involved. It makes a difference. It makes you see that the owners care like you guys do. And you're unstoppable.
Awesome.
So good. This is everything and more than what I thought it was going to be. And honestly, we like to say one of my top tier favorite episodes I think we have recorded. It is so, so solid good. I'm just really appreciative of you taking, I mean, it's 6:45 on July 3rd, right before a holiday.
7:45 his time.
7:45 for him. That's right.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. Seriously. It's like
Yeah.
Brian said, so many gold nuggets. And I literally have clipped 12, 12 segments. And there could be so many more where I was like, oh, this is great. This is great. This is great. I came into this exhausted, honestly, because my sister's in town and our son is in town, and we went down to New Orleans on July 3rd to New Orleans, hot, miserable, sticky, came in, freshened up, sat down for this, tired, but it has energized me, and I just think it's fantastic. So I really appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you guys, and if it's okay, I just want to quote one more thing that I think would make a difference that I feel is important. It was another Zig Ziglar quote, but I mean the guy's on his mark. It says, "Take advantage of every opportunity to practice your communication skills, so that when important occasions arise, you'll have the gift, the style, the sharpness, the clarity, and emotions to affect others." And I think that really transcends for service. And again, just connecting with your customers, your guests, whatever you want to call them, their family. Build those relationships, because that's who's feeding your family.
Yep.
I mean, that's who's taking care of you, and it's just super important, especially in this position, to be honest, be thankful, and it's not an easy start, but the more positive support you have, the easier it gets. And yeah, you're gonna have bad days too, but it's challenging. No day that's the same. The cars could be the same, it's an oil service, but something else, but it's accepting challenges, finding solutions, and it is rewarding. It's definitely rewarding. And I appreciate the opportunity with you two. Miss you guys. It was so incredible to see you at the expo, and it's been too long, and I wish you guys the best, and I would love to do it again.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
We will take you up on that.
Yeah, we still have tons of questions that like this could, for sure. There's no doubt about that.
And I'll be honest, I don't feel like I'm on my game today. There were other things that I wanted to say and talk about. Some of them slipped my mind, but maybe in episode 2 in the future. So
let's do it.
All right. Love you guys.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Auto Repair Marketing Podcast. We appreciate you listening. Remember, we are just one of a handful of podcasts on the Aftermarket Radio Network. You can find the others at aftermarketradionetwork.com. Thank you again to our sponsor, Repair Pal. We could not do this without them. We hope you'll tune in again next week. And until then, go fill those bays.